Well, I'm excited to have Emily here with us today to chat a little bit about the field of early childhood education, sorry, um, and to get her perspectives on the role of the educator in our field. So welcome, Emily, and
Thanks,
thank you
Barb.
very much for sitting down with me and having this very important conversation about a field that we're both very passionate about. I won't tell everyone too much about who you are because I want you to tell us who you are, where are you currently employed, um, how long you've been there, a little bit about your journey in your career as an ECE, and then talk a little bit about your inspiration to coming into this field. What led you here? And what takes you to work every day, um, and then what inspires you about the field. And then we'll talk a little bit, we'll sort of lead into a little bit about your role as an ECE as far as relationships with children. We know play is very important, so we'll talk about a little bit about play, supporting families, and then we'll sort of wrap it up. So that should be our conversation for the next little while. So take it away. Tell us who you are.
All right, I am Emilie Borghese, and I graduated in 2001 from Conestoga College from the ECE program. And in fact, Violet and Bev were my cooperating teachers in placements when I was in school. I stayed home with my kids for a couple of years directly out of college. I had a baby right after college, and then I started working at Emmanuel at Brighton Child Care Center in Waterloo, where I've been ever since. I am currently getting my Forest and Nature School Practitioners course, so I'm in the middle of that. When I was early in high school, actually, the only thing I knew about my future career is that it was going to be anything but early childhood education. My mom graduated from Conestoga
Yes.
College, the ECE program in '69. And I grew up in the field. I actually went to Emmanuel when I was small. So it's really neat for me that when I started my career, I was working alongside the women whose laps I sat in as a kid, which what an amazing kind of round circle situation.
Yeah.
But my mom did home daycare for many years when I was older, and having kids in the house all the time, I was just like, this is not the thing for me. When I was in grade 13, which was at the time a thing that people did, I applied to university and to college, but I was on my own at that point, and I kind of was thinking, 5 years in school sounds pretty expensive, so I'm going to give the ECE thing a whirl. And in retrospect, I couldn't be more happy that this is what I chose. I have a passion for art and music and literature, and this is the perfect place for me to share my loves with young children, to be inspired by them every day. I get to make art with them. We sing together. I don't think I have anything else to say. Hopefully Julie can edit that part out too.
Perfect. So what keeps you going back to Emmanuel every morning?
I tell people it's the happiest place on earth. Disney actually sounds like a nightmare for me, and maybe it's because of what we do for a living that I would never want to holiday in a place like that. But every day is filled with joy, right? These tiny people who see the world, it's cliche, but this innovative way, their curiosity, the thinking outside the box, it's inspiring to be a part of that world every day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I say that to my students that I mentor as well. Um, it's incredible to experience something for the first time through their eyes,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're working with toddlers. I say, when it's winter time, that first snowfall, how exciting,
Yeah.
and you're experiencing with them that first time of touching snow, that first crunchy leaf on the playground, and just how they sort of go around in the world, and figure things out is just incredible. Like you said, the way they think is outside of the box. We take a pencil and we think, okay, it's for writing, but with children, it's something different. It could be so many, many,
Absolutely.
many things. And,
Mhm.
just sitting there, sitting back and watching and observing, and thinking, what makes you do that?
I think we lose a lot of that creativity as we grow, right? That we are limited by the experiences we've had in the world. But when you're young and just starting out,
Yes,
anything can be anything. The
that's
sky
right.
is limitless.
Yes, yes,
Another really great part is, I mean, in every job, you're going to have bad days. That's just a
sure.
thing, right? This is the perfect job for me. I have bad days, but in a place that's the happiest place on earth, there is always joy to be found. There are always moments of light and positivity, even when you've had a bad day.
Sure, sure, exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's great. Good, good. Well, thank you. Let's dive in a little bit into sort of that your role with children as far as relationship building,
Mhm.
um, and play, and when you're engaging in play, and your role is supporting
Right.
that area, because it's just so important.
I think my biggest tool that I use is just plopping down in the middle of it, right? Sitting on the ground at their level. And it's a lot of observing and listening to what's going
Yes,
on, asking questions to extend, but for my own comprehension too, to get an idea of what they're doing and how they're doing it. What you said about relationship building, certainly in my opinion, is the most important part of the things we're trying to teach, right? Social skills, problem solving skills. I'm doing a lot of talking in the toddler rooms. Of course, we're going to talk about feelings a lot of the time. Just
yes,
recognizing, right?
yes,
Like in a
yes.
toddler room every year, you're going to have a bite or three just
That's
because they're
right.
so overwhelmed by emotion that,
Yes, yes, yes,
right?
yes,
Um, but we want to be able to help them recognize how they're feeling, what the words for that is. That's at a
mhm,
very kind of base younger level, but as they're growing, we are having them navigate through problem solving, turn taking, sharing, except during COVID, which is the worst, by
yes,
the way.
yes,
We've been
yes.
teaching kids to share forever, and
I
I'm like,
know, I
oh, I'm
know.
sorry, love, you
Now
can't
you
share your
can't.
Play-Doh.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And that could be another Zoom conversation
Oh,
just in that,
absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, at Emmanuel, we use this program called Tools for Life Relationship Building Solutions that we've all been trained in. It's been a very important part of my practice for probably 8 or 9 years now. That at the beginning of the year, I wouldn't even call them circles, but in large group discussions. At times, if somebody's having a big feeling, I'm grabbing a poster that I keep close by and I'm referring to the pics and
Mhm,
the
mhm,
visuals, right?
mhm.
Ooh, look at your body clues. So I'm teaching the kids this whole language that they actually use this program in the Catholic and public schools. So it's kind
Mhm.
of this whole base of language that will move up with them through the school
Right.
system. And what's really great too is there are handout papers that go home to parents so they can learn the language.
Mhm, mhm.
And there's how to calm down strategies. When I see if a child's upset, I'll pull out my little lanyard and be like, hey, look, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
What works best for you? Do you think you need a drink of water to calm down? Or maybe that won't work right now. Would you like to
Yeah.
draw a picture? Maybe you need a hug, right?
Yes, yes.
But for them to learn the school things that are going to learn when they get older, they need to really have that base kind of emotional regulation and the
Yes.
ability to regulate themselves and figure out their worlds.
Yes, yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And without um that relationship, and you knowing that child inside and out, like you said, that's the beginning, that's the foundation of everything that we do.
Absolutely. That is a major piece for me is that every day in my classroom, it's important for me, a part of my own personal philosophy, that I am spending some one-on-one time with each child, right?
Yes,
Because you do want to give, it's easy to kids who are pulling at your dress and are constantly in your face and want to be a part of your world at all moments.
yes,
But it's equally as important to find those kids across the playground who have a different demeanor about them, right? They're quieter,
yes,
they're happier to sit on the edge. But it's
yes, yes,
your job as an educator to go and find the quiet children
yes,
too and
yes.
find out what makes them tick.
And I remember too, when I was working directly with children, I would go home at the end of the day and sort of reflect on my day. What went well, what didn't, what could I do differently tomorrow? And I always thought to myself, okay, did I spend quality time with every child in my program?
Yeah,
Do I know what their interests are so that I can extend? Do I
absolutely.
know how to support them when they are having these big feelings? Because what works for one child will not work for another child. Um,
Absolutely.
you
And I
know,
think a tip I have for that is asking kids questions about their home, right? Like I'm always asking about siblings, I'm asking about pets. Hey, what'd you have for dinner last night?
sure,
Because it's a really nice way to build those kind of connections and make a
exactly,
connection between home and school. And parents also love when you know those kinds of details about their kids
for
too. So
sure.
then you're growing relationships with the parents as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you connect with someone, whether it be a child or an adult, about, you know, do you have a pet? Tell me about your pet. Tell me what you had for dinner. You have started that relationship right from the get-go. So the next time they come in, they're going to run and say, Emily, guess what I had for dinner last night? Or guess what my dog did yesterday? Or whatever the case may be. You've
Well, and
started
in the
that
world of
relationship, your
smartphones,
interest in
right?
them.
Smartphones, the parents can pull out the phone at the end of the day and be like, here's Clyde right here. And I get to see
Yes,
his pet
exactly.
right away, right?
That's
Ways
right.
the field has changed in 20 years.
Yes, yes, exactly. So this sort of goes into, sort of leads us to, my next point, um, in that, what is your role in supporting families and engaging families? You touched a little bit about, when you're interested in what's happening at home and their siblings and, a pet or dinner, you're drawing families into those conversations as well. Tell me a little bit about your role with families.
I think establishing that personal connection right away is key. So not only you're making a connection with their child and learning things about them. When I start in a new team every September, one of my first week of September tasks that I put on myself is I make flashcards with the parents' names and the child's name on the other side. And then when we are getting the kids to sleep, we play like a flashcard game, just of whispering across the classroom. I'll say a name, and we'll make a word association. For example, if the child's name is Adam and Brianna and Charlie are the moms, right? So I'll say to and I don't know these people, this is not a real thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll be like, Adam, I'll say to my coworkers, and they don't remember because you might have 20 kids in your class and
Sure.
all the parents that go along, and I'll be ABC. And then we've learned the names within 2 weeks of every parent in the class. So
Yes.
just such a simple thing, which is
Yes.
hard to do when there's so many.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
But committing the time that you can, when the parent comes to pick up the time, be, hey, Charlie, how's it going today?
Yes. Exactly. And using their name goes a long way.
It does, such
Yes.
simple things.
Yes.
And then at the same time, it's important for me to, if there's a name that I don't know how to pronounce, that I ask the parents, can you
Yes.
sit down with me for a minute so I know, I want to write it down phonetically so I can learn this. Say it slowly for me. Will you say it one more time? Because it's important that I say the word correctly or the name correctly.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. It's just being very respectful towards our families and our program.
Mhm.
Hmm. Are there other ways that you engage families in your program?
Absolutely.
Because I remember years, you put out your curriculum plans, you put out
Yeah.
posters, and it's like, I know I'm a parent too, and at the end of the day, well, at the beginning of the day, you're rushing to get your child in there and out to work, and at the end of the day, there's just always so much to do at home, or
Yep.
so families are running in and out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important, and it's our part of our role is trying to engage families and wondering how you do that.
It's been a goal of our center to increase family connection for the last few years that we've identified every year. And it's trickier sometimes because just like you said, there might be two other siblings and everybody has clubs and lessons and we've got to hit the grocery store. You can spend all the time in the world on a beautiful documentation poster, but if it's hung up on the wall somewhere, they might not even see it.
Right.
So in my documentation journey, I've kind of gotten away from all that, and I just make on a piece of paper most of the time. It's a lot of handwriting and photos. The parents in my class learn very quickly that I have a bulletin board outside my door, no matter what classroom I'm in every year. And that's where my documentation is. You don't have to go looking all over the school. Certainly I have other things for the children at their level, but if I want to give the parents a snapshot of on a daily and weekly basis, the cool things that are going on, they have one spot to check.
Right.
I've learned big, gorgeous color photographs of their child's face is more than anything going to grab their attention, right? Then they're going to take the time to zoom in and look, right? A lot of text. I mean, I'm hurrying. I've got to go pick up my mom for the dentist.
Yes, yes.
Right? Short and
yes.
sweet.
That's right.
There's lots of different ways. We have family events at the center quite often, planting nights in the spring where families can come and plant with their child at pickup. Spaghetti dinner fundraiser. We have big events like this. We also have a quarterly newsletter that each classroom writes and includes pictures that goes out to each family. Mm-hmm. We run parent educator conferences twice a year. So certainly at pickup and drop off, we can give during non-times of COVID when I get to see the parents. Anyway, we can have small messages, but certainly I do have to remind people sometimes this sounds like a bigger conversation and I need to be focused on the kids right now.
Right, yes.
Parent-teacher conferences are great because it gives us a chunk of time, a half hour that we can sit down if the parents have any questions or not. And certainly they can request such a thing at any time. Right. Phone calls through the day sometimes happen as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
then, you know, at odd times there's going to be a family who is just happy to sort of wave hello and wave goodbye, and you know, there's no reflection on you. That's their level of comfort when it comes to relationships. And we need to be respectful about that too, because I do remember early on in my career, you know, trying to really connect with each family. And you know, there was one family that I just could not for the life of me. I've tried to figure out so many strategies and it didn't work. They were just happy, like I said, just to say hello, goodbye. How was their day? Fine, great, and off they went. But you know, again, that's the relationship piece.
Yep,
you know, and getting to know them. You can't take it personally. It's not about you. But if you've developed that relationship with that family, you know that that's their comfort level.
I thought of another. Oh, I don't know what that noise was.
Neither do I.
Okay. Maybe there'll be a surprise for us.
Maybe.
I thought of one more idea that I do on curriculum sheets when there's a cool activity that's happened. For example, I've done some years it comes up when someone's ripped their pants that I get my mending kit, right? I sew the pants and then I get out plastic canvases and needles for the kids to have a turn. So when there's an experience like this at the bottom of the paper, I'll say, do you have any skills with sewing? Please join us.
Yes.
Right? Or if we're doing a cooking experience, do you have a family recipe you'd love to come in and share?
Right.
Would you like to read a story with us? Come in anytime and read a story. So just to give those little invitations at every chance you can get, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, yeah.
Another one, quite often if their family has a baby, in many years we will ask the mom or dad if they feel comfortable bringing the baby into the classroom. Sometimes we'll say, do you want to bring the bathtub too? And then the kids sit in a circle around this carpet and watch this baby interacting, right? They maybe watch a diaper change.
Yeah, that's great.
There's lots of different ideas.
There is. Yeah, yeah, that's great. You had mentioned that you worked in the toddler room.
Yep.
And so I was wondering, you know, we talked a little bit about a play, but routines and transitions when you're working with children is very important. And you know, especially when you're working with toddlers. You know, children, doesn't matter what age they are, sort of need that guidance and need to know what to expect throughout the day. but we also there's a fine line between needing children to sort of know what their day is going to be like, but not inundating them with so many routines and transition that it can be overwhelming for many. So wondering if you could share a little bit about what your role is in supporting children through those um, routines and transitions. And when you're working with toddlers, it's more of those caring types of routines that happen in that program.
It can be a safety issue as well. In our center, we have 5 large natural play spaces. So when it's your time to go to a playground for a week, you could be traveling down the length of the school
Right.
or going to the lunchroom for lunches. We're fortunate to have a lunchroom at our facility. You have to keep them all together, right? You don't want to lose any of them. So the transition piece is super important in a safety sense as well. For me, singing is the big one. Kids respond to music.
Yes.
I love singing and I have a background in singing, but the best part is you don't have to. Kids are the best critics, right? They are going to think you're a rock star. You don't need to sing. And your coworkers aren't going to judge you because they're singing too.
Exactly. That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So at the beginning of September, I have a handful of songs that I use pretty regularly on a daily basis. And maybe it's not what you teach at the college, Violet, I'm not sure, but it kind of builds a Pavlovian response, right? That if I have taught you my hand washing song, an important one in these times of uncertainty, I just have to hum the first bar by Christmas time and you're washing your hands and you're doing it in the proper way because you remember to scrub the backs and scrub the fronts and scrub the in-betweens.
Yeah.
When I am taking a group of kids down a flight of stairs, because we have a small set between one end at the wheelchair ramp, between one end of the school and the other. If I have a group, my coworkers and I have 24 preschoolers, which does happen sometimes, right? I can't have the first 6 or 8 kids run all the way down to the other end of the hallway. So I am saying, put your hands up on the wall. Can you put your hands up on the wall?
That's right, yes.
Put your elbow on the wall. I'm making it into a game so I can still supervise the kids on the stairs and make sure they're coming down holding the railing and being safe.
That's right.
And then I always end with a joke. I teach them about the gluteus maximus, which is a bum muscle. So always my ender, right, is put your gluteus maximus on the wall, and they're all waiting for it. But nobody runs down the hallway because they want to play the game.
That's right, exactly, and that's key. You hit the nail on the head. Is making it fun and enjoyable. There's nothing worse than policing children while going through those transitions because we have to do them.
Yep.
But making it fun and engaging them in spontaneous, and that's the best way to do it, is those spontaneous types of games, songs. And they have, they don't know that they're going from point A to point B, but they're having fun, right?
Absolutely. And you can make up songs to suit any occasion.
Yes.
Use songs that already exist.
That's right.
We play drum fit at our school.
Okay.
Big balls with sticks on stands. It's an activity thing we do once a month. It's super high cardio. I love it. And at the end of the session, sometimes, depending on what class it is, the kids have to clean up the balls. And we have to stack them on the stacks by the windows.
Right.
So when we have to clean up, I'll sing, "To the windows with the balls." And like I'm making up rhyming words.
Oh, yes, that's right.
This is a super dirty and horrible song that I'm singing that's never okay for daycare. But I'm just singing words along to the tune of this song that already exists in my head.
Yes, yes, yes.
To make it appropriate to the situation.
Exactly. And again, again, tidying up time. That's a big one. Nobody likes to do it. You start singing the tidy up time song, and they're running from one end to the other. But if you're making it fun, then they're more apt to sort of go along with you as well. Mm-hmm.
My favorite tidy up song trick that I only learned probably in the last 5 years, because you sing the tidy up song and you get the same crew of like 6 or 7 who have the need to please. So they're just going to, anytime they hear the song. And then you have the other kids who realize that these other kids are going to do it for me. Why am I ever going to do it? I'm just going to keep playing until we do the next thing.
Yes, yes.
So I started doing this thing that I'll say, My eyes see the way that Violet is tidying. I also see the way that Bev is tidying too. They want to hear their names.
That's right. Exactly.
Right? So everybody's tidying now.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
I wish I learned that one earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Well, hopefully some of these tips, students will be writing these down furiously. So when they're able to get into a playroom with the children, that they'll remember some of these things that those of us who've been in the field a long time have sort of picked up along the way.
Yep.
Let's see. Um, we talked a little bit about families. That's great. So let's wrap it up.
Okay.
What is one thing that you could share with students as they're starting their journey into becoming an early childhood educator?
You're not just observing the kids, you are observing the adults in your world as well. That is the key piece. As you are in placement one, from what I understand, and you are just figuring out what this all looks like, you want to, at every placement you go to, if you go to placement, who knows what's going on. But when you get a job, when you're in a classroom, you are watching your coworkers. You're keeping an eye on what coworkers in other classrooms are doing. When you have student teachers come in who are learning the newest and greatest stuff at the college, you're going to look at those strong students and the documentation they're pulling off, and you are going to incorporate into your own personal philosophy the things that you love. Ooh, I really liked that. I have to remember that. This is something I want to be a part of my own practice. And it works in the opposite as well, right? You will learn things. If you have a placement maybe you don't enjoy so much for whatever reason, that is still a learning opportunity for you, right? To think about the ways maybe you don't want to be as an educator, right? That's a thing.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And I say that to them a lot, you come to us with a backpack, and along the way you fill the backpack. It sounds cheesy, but it's so true. It's empty, and every placement you go to, every class you go to, you sort of fill it up. And at the end of the 2 years with us, um, you open up your backpack and you dump it out, and that's who you are as an early childhood educator to start with. Because you will evolve and you will grow as you are in the field for many years.
Well, I guess that's the other piece too, right? There were so many times at the beginning for me as I was a student in the first few years. Did I say the right thing? What do I say next? Right? You're unsure. The confidence isn't there from experience.
Yes.
But it's by having those experiences that you're going to gain the confidence that there is not a lot these days that throws me for a loop, because I've seen a lot of things.
Yes. Yeah.
But in this field, you still see things.
For sure. For sure. For sure. Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And, I working with students for many years, a lot of them will say, well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And I don't want to step on anyone's toes. And, but I always say to them, that's how you learn, is by being there, by being, earlier in our conversation, you say getting down at the children's level. By getting down to the children's level and having those conversations with them, listening with them, I think that's key to start.
That's my favorite part. Those are the best parts of the day, right? When I can sit down and play with my friends, that is the best.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so the other piece of advice I have, right? Look for the joy in every day. There's going to be bad days.
There is.
But are always fabulous, wonderful things happening in your little world here. So
that's fun. Great. Yes. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, Emilie. It was great to have you to chat a little bit with us about, your role and your journey, and hopefully the students will be able to take a little bit from what you said and sort of start filling their backpack as
Yeah,
early childhood educators and our colleagues in a couple of years. So
that's right.
yeah, good. Well, again, thank you very much for agreeing to sit with us, and hopefully we'll see you in person maybe soon.
That's right. I hope so too. It was my
Yeah,
pleasure, Violet. Nice to
yeah,
see you.
you're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.